Welcome everybody to this AMA. Ask me anything with Globe. We don't pronounce GlobeDX, it's Globe. You see it on the screen over here, right?
Globe.
My name is Wesley Kelder from DCI, Dutch crypto investors, and next to me is Hien. I will be host for today, and Hien is the co-founder of DCI and already connected with James. So
Yes.
James also welcome. Hien, welcome here.
Hey
Uh,
guys.
yes, and
I,
James, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling of rocking this AMA?
I think it's going to be fun. I guess like me, a lot of people here are just like on Facebook on a Friday afternoon, not really working. For me, though, this is sort of work. So
Yeah,
Okay, great to hear.
yeah, this is good. And just a small introduction from our side and from what people can expect over here. The questions we are asking James here, we collect the questions from the DCI team itself, but also from the communities, from the DCI community and the Polkadot community with 150K users within. So we have our own question, but collected a couple of questions. And if you're from the community and your question is asked by us, you can win some prizes like some tokens, or we prefer tokens instead of fiat money, but So you will get notified by that from our colleagues. And before we dive into the deep, in the questions of everything, I think a lot of people always want to know who is the founder behind the project, who is what is the team, how's the team set up. So first and most of all, who's James West, and why is James West so passionate about Globe? So take it
All
up,
right.
James.
all right. Yeah, so I have an interesting background. So uh, my father's an immigrant from North Africa, from Algeria.
Okay.
Yeah, he left when I was very, very little. And I think that kind of always gave me a sense of autonomy in the world. Like I was going to go out there and try and create things and just sort of see what happens. And I studied math as an undergraduate in university, and I did some research in an area called arithmetic geometry. And then I left to go do a PhD, and I spent a few years trying to cure cancer. And as you guys probably noticed, I didn't succeed. Right, pretty obvious.
Yes.
And I left to go work for a hedge fund, and I did a bit better at a hedge fund than I did trying to cure cancer, and that was a lot of fun. And about, I think it must have been 4 or 5 years ago, we were just looking at other places where we could, invest and go trade as a fund. And I was really excited because at that point, I was pretty sure that there was going to be more money made market making, trading cryptocurrencies than there was going to be in all of US equities, at least on the market making, high frequency trading side of things. And I was building strategies in Asia, and a large part of that was just, the latency is a bit higher, so you can build kind of smarter models. So the work I'd done on machine learning was going to be a little bit more applicable, like it would make more of a difference. And we started looking, okay, what would it look like to go deploy these strategies in crypto? And at the time, it was just really, really deeply problematic. There were lots of really bad practices going on. API response times were absolutely shocking. And there was a lot of front running, and exchanges would trade against their own customers, which amazingly is still a practice today and is usually not legal, traditional finance, And I was pretty appalled by these things. And, eventually I got to leave, and it took me like a year before I could leave. And originally we set up thinking that we were going to go do arbitrage, across other crypto venues. And, that kind of thing is not going to last that long. And it's not really providing anywhere near as much value as providing a venue that's actually going to be something that people can trust, and is going to bring integrity to the markets, and it's going to bring in, the products that people want. Back in 2018, you could get a Perpetual in Bitcoin only, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty clear that was just a really great structure for managing risk, for just sort of effortlessly managing a portfolio, and that it had a lot more to go, and that no one was really pushing it there, right? Because BitMEX at the time were mired in the SEC and CFTC scandal. Mm-hmm. And so I got my old friend from university, Sean, who's the other founder at Globe. I called him up. I said, let's let's set up a trading shop.
Okay.
That did eventually transition. I think he was, everyone's a little skeptical when they quit their job to go do something, right? There's a few sleepless nights at the start.
Cases that is, family or friends.
Yeah, right. Your family, like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I say that on Facebook? I didn't.
Of course.
Okay, you can edit. Yeah, all right. They'll wonder what you're doing, and it's gonna feel weird. And it really started to take off when Y Combinator got interested. So we spoke to them, and we talked to this guy who was a partner at Bridgewater. So one of the world's sort of biggest, mustliest hedge funds out there, and they were really, really excited about this. It was bringing this product that was going to be much better for consumers, so everyday traders, right? Was going to enable institutions to get into the market, and was going to bring integrity to the market. And we, at the time, had a very, very different take from what anyone else was doing. And even today, we're the first derivatives exchange in colocation. We're the first providing a proper pure WebSocket API where you can kind of actually trade through the WebSocket too. We're the first with VIX futures. I think we're going to continue to be the first in a lot of things if you've seen our roadmap. So there's a lot more. I think there's someone still needs to go push through and do.
I think a lot of things we're gonna pinpoint within the questions also. So
yeah, I think there's a lot more than just who is James. But Globe is a lot of what I am and what I do these days. Seriously, it's.
Can you tell us more about your team also? About the
how do you work together as a team? Because
decentralized.
Decentralized.
We decentralize.
Multiple time zones involved and things like that. So
decentralization as a team isn't the wonderful panacea that it often sounds to people, right? What that often means is like, I'm trying to go to bed at 11 p.m. and I need to go frantically deal with some people in Japan or in the team in Hong Kong or wherever. And they want me to be up and I'm asleep and I can't really talk to them properly. And I wake up in the morning and then I have to deal with their stuff first, and that means it's kind of harder to deal with the people in Europe or deal with the people in Latin America or wherever else. So the team does have a few different components. On the engineering side, we do have a decent amount in Europe. That tends to be mostly there. Find that if you're solving difficult technical problems, it does help to be able to get in the same room as someone else and talk it through and do it on a whiteboard or,
and
together in person. Yeah.
But do you guys also have some meetups together in some some place where you all from all over the world meet up?
I don't think we've had an all-world meetup yet, just because of the virus, right?
Yeah,
it's not really viable right now, just because there's people everywhere. Yeah, but I think we should do that someday.
Should be fun.
Yeah. And okay, thanks. And I think I've one question. You pinpointed a little bit already, but can you tell us something more about the intrinsic motivation to start Globe? It was a little bit a playground, what you said a couple of sentences ago, but the intrinsic motivation to evaluate from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think right at the very, very start, we were building somewhere where we would want to go trade.
Yeah.
Right, because there was no way we could trust the other exchanges around at that time.
Okay. There was a lot of things going on.
Yeah, it was a different time. And I understand why the SEC and the CFTC made the conclusions they did.
Yeah. Okay. All right, this is clear. So okay, thanks. This was the little introduction. We'll go to the next phase. If you don't have any additions right now, okay. Yeah, right now we're gonna hop to a couple of questions, and in the end we have 4 questions from that were coming from the community itself. Yeah. So yeah. we saved the best for last, right?
All right.
Okay. First, the overall question for the most companies. That's companies. You start a company to solve a problem, right? So yeah, you mentioned a little bit already, but just for the form, is what are the current problems within the known exchanges that you guys gonna solve, and how you guys gonna solve this right now?
I mean, look, if you're not solving a problem, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think there's still a lot of problems. So firstly, a lot of exchanges are still breaking, right? and you need someone to go trade. You can trust it that when the price, I mean, it crashed pretty hard recently. If you can't get your orders through when that's happening, you know, that's a horrifying experience, right? And a lot of them still have really, really limited message rates. You know, you're trying to just send a few orders through and the thing's just dead, basically. And that's kind of a consequence of the engineering that they had at the time. Fair enough. The way that we tackled it, you know, we kind of built an exchange architecture which is unlike any other centralized exchange. And I guess in some sense that does make it more decentralized, funnily enough, than most exchanges. I guess you could call it CBFI, kind of. All right, I'm not going to get too far into that. But, you know, ultimately, yeah, there's one order book, and that lives on a tier of hardware that's above what anyone else has. You know, we process something like 10 times the number of messages per second or trades per second that you're going to get on, you know, on a previous generation exchange like the Binance, and a lot more than most other derivatives venues.
Yes.
That's great. That makes for a smoother experience when the markets are getting crazy. But one of the really big advantages we have is leveraging the existing traditional finance architecture around the world, really, really big fat pipes laid along ocean floors that move data very quickly across different parts of the world, and try to provide sort of a uniformly best latency experience for people that are a good bit away from where that order book lives, from where those matching engines live. The second kind of key point is just the lack of innovation in the industry. And there are a lot of followers. There are a handful of people that go out there and create new and exciting things. You know, we couldn't believe in 2018 that there were no ETH perps. We couldn't believe in 2019 that there were no you know, there's no colocation happening. We couldn't believe in 2020 that there were no VIX futures. And in 2021, it feels unbelievable. There's still no really nice way of kind of getting your hands on real estate, and there's really, really limited entry into kind of traditional equities.
But don't you think the lack of innovation is right now maybe because of the exponential growth of the exchanges, and maybe there's some focus points, or maybe the ideas are already there, you know? But
there's an element of that. I mean, definitely, like if you're putting out fires, it's hard to go and make something new. I think that's something we've seen everyone face. But at the same time, you know, not everyone does have all the same ideas. And it does need people to go out there and build, fundamentally. I think that the third thing is the misalignment with the community. So there are quite a few venues out there that are just trading against their existing businesses, and that's something a lot of them really dislike. You know, we ran a token pre-sale recently. It actually ran a bit bigger than Binance's token pre-sale back in 2017, and hefty, three times FTX, and a decent chunk of that was customers from those exchanges who just like, we don't really trust them, and we like the model that you're doing. We want to come trade on Globe and not on venues that are doing those kinds of practices. So that I think is a really important thing that people are doing. I think it's sort of a further motivator. You know, people really want to feel like they're part of a community, and there are people that like, oh, you know, I missed out on Binance in 2017, I missed out on FTX in 2019, and they just want to be a part of Globe in 2021. And they're like, okay, well, you know, you guys are listening to me, I can talk to you, and you're going to go build something similar. And people get really hyped about that. And that's a really interesting way of aligning a community.
And what's also very interesting is that you know, because we saw the pitch deck, and I also saw, and that's one of the next questions, the competitors. Who are you in the background, or maybe, you know, in your eagle eye, where do you pinpoint on the competitors? Because I know the logos I saw, but can you tell me a little bit about that? What we saw, I think the biggest exchange already as one of the main competitors, right?
That's the first thing. I think spiritually, the people closest to us are FTX, and I guess they're in our Telegram for that reason. But beyond that, you know, the ones I think we're really kind of competing with are BitMEX, to an extent Binance Futures, but that's very regional, whether or not people are going to prefer us or Binance Futures at this stage in time. You know, I think that'll change in the future, but there are areas where I think people will choose us over Binance Futures. There are other derivatives venues, but they tend to be much kind of clearer cut choices, I think. So those are the three that I think are really kind of competing with us meaningfully on some dimension or other.
Okay. So and when you just in one or two sentences, James, one or two sentences.
All right.
If you have to say let's say, a top 3 USPs for Globe compared to your main top 3 competitors, for instance? Just not too much word, only just,
All right.
just give us some bullet points.
Yes.
Three things.
I mean, if I'm going to give you one thing, we're the best trading experience for perpetual futures. That's it. That's what we want to be now. Yeah.
Can you say that again? I maybe the connection was a little bit.
Right now, we're just trying to be the best place to trade perpetual futures.
Okay. It's crystal clear.
Yeah.
That was one sentence.
Yeah, one
right.
Yeah.
I don't always do too many sentences. You know, got it down.
And about promoting Globe, right? How do you plan on promoting Globe as a new exchange? You know, people are I think most of the people are logged in at multiple exchanges already, and you know, token distributions are also around multiple exchanges. How do you plan to promote this, but not only to promote this in a whole, but also in different countries with different cultures, with different needs? You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
You know, and Africa is a little bit different than in Europe. The adoption is also higher in Europe. So what's your vision, or maybe some concrete plans about that?
I think there's the core driver is having a product that people love and tell their friends about. But then that becomes manifest in lots of different ways. So there's a decent amount of star power that we kind of see associated with us that's definitely like helped bring a lot of people. So if you saw, you know, we had a partnership with Superfarm, and that built a huge amount of hype. We had people like Sumit Kapoor talking about the exchange in India because he loved what we're doing. We've had people in Japan talking on their Substacks about how much they love VIX futures, and that's brought in a lot of people. So there's definitely a star power dimension to what brings people in. We do have a lot of regional partners. So from the token sale, there's at least 20 different partners that we have that run trading academies or trading clubs, or you know, like to talk about trading and understand it. And they often help translate the material into local markets. So you know, when we make announcements, you'll see them in Korean, you'll see them in Russian, Turkish, Spanish, or the type of Spanish you get in South America.
Yeah,
Portuguese, you get in South America. You know, Spaniards and European Portuguese have a different opinion. But there's people that really help to kind of translate that message. And then, you know, there's the community who we find do a huge amount of the translation and communication for us with their own people, right? So, you know, people come to us and just say, like, I don't like how you translated the Chinese, and they'll send us, you know, correction.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing we'll put in the same day often. And that, I mean, actually helps build a lot of trust between them and us, and, you know, also helps us to talk to them in a more effective way. We do run community groups across a number of different languages, and we're seeing new languages all the time that we need to try and support. It's hard to have lots of different splinter groups and kind of accurately coordinate them. So something we're trying to work out how to do better. But, you know, right now we get so much from that central Telegram group and from our Twitter as well, helping us to kind of get our message localized. Beyond that, we plug into lots of things that work across different countries. So we have an integration going with CEXs Pro, and that brings in a lot of the kind of Russian algo trading crowd who use that product, and that kind of, I don't want to call it marketing, but just ecosystem integration goes a long way to touching lots and lots of different countries.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, clear. Thanks. And you talked about, well, we touched a little bit about the token things. I think you wanted to ask something about the token burning, right? Because Globe is intent to do token burning up to
40%,
50%. I guess I thought it was right.
Yeah, I think it's. I should check the docs too.
Because I just read it was about 30% burning from the fees of trading fees, and the other 10% other sources. But can you explain me more what the other sources are?
I mean, we have a roadmap of other sources of things that we're going to need to burn from.
Oh, okay, it's like that.
So they may not exist yet, but they'll come.
And also about your token, you can also stake it. Can you tell me more about it? Because
I think we have an announcement coming up about that in a bit, in terms of how we're going to make it stakeable and how that.
Do I hear some special announcement we can
Yeah, I'm going to drop that today.
Right?
No.
We're working on it. We know people love staking. We're going to figure something out. We're going to announce it.
Okay, so it will be announced very soon, I guess.
We'll
just
we can't
keep
quite
us
not do
posted
this.
and just keep us posted, and maybe we can do
Okay,
something.
I
with
can
it.
wait.
Yeah, look, what happens right now in crypto is there's just a massive queue. Everyone's trying to do everything with everyone at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And timelines are a bit crazier and a bit less predictable than they used to be.
Yeah, and
okay.
every deadline is sometimes to be postponed, right? Okay. Yes, thanks. I like new information, right? Maybe we can give something to the community, but we will wait your announcement, okay?
All right. I try to give something new in every AMA, but you know, I think we often do like 2 of these a week, so that's too much. I mean, that's a lot of new stuff every week.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Yeah. Hey, about the tokens again. How do you plan to launch the GDT tokens on? Do you already have a list or some some type of exchanges where you prefer to be live in first instance, or?
Yep, we do. So we're going to start off on one centralized exchange, which I think is probably the best one for a new token listing. I don't think I can tell you that yet, but we have a contract.
You saw my lips moving already.
Yeah, I can tell. We, you know, I think the legal side of stuff is just in place, and we're going to announce it.
Is it a big one?
It's a good one.
That's great.
I think it's the best one for that phase of listing, and then that'll be alongside the sort of usual Uniswap DEX listings.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a plan of sort of secondary and tertiary listings that we're working on currently. If you look at our partners list on the site, so that's OKEX, Gate.io, MXC, Hotbit, some of the Latin exchanges. We're figuring out timelines with them. I can't confirm which ones are going to be where and when, but I expect to list on pretty much all of those sooner or later.
Because what about launchpads? Because it will.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there was some fun stuff with the launchpads, right?
Yeah. Because
I think there was an initial announcement. Yeah, it's going to be on like. I think it leaked that it was going to be on Ignition like 2 weeks or 3 before it was announced, right? Yeah. I mean, people get excitable in AMAs and they leak stuff.
Exactly.
I think we had like a deal with Ignition saying we weren't going to talk about it until until it was definitely everything was signed and ready to roll. And I think Kyle got excited and said, "Oh my God, guys, we've got Glove." So yeah, that happened. And then I mean, look, what we really want to do with the IDOs is just give an opportunity to everyone in the world to get involved. That's what we're really trying to do, right? And they do target different communities. So Dodo or Doodoo, I think is the correct pronunciation, is very, very China heavy. Yeah. Ignition has pretty good coverage in Southeast Asia. Yes. And then we wanted something that would be more Europe and a bit more Latin. And so we really just tried to pick 3, because if you try to do more than 3, that's a nightmare. Yeah. The badman. So we went with Ignition, Superfarm, and Doodoo for that reason, getting really, really broad coverage of not trying to force, or just, I think people don't like it being pushed down their throats like, oh my God, you've got to buy this IDO token or you're not going to get any of the token you actually want, right? And so, we wanted to do a phase that would, be easy if you already had one of those and let you participate and kind of bring you into the community, and then make sure we had a second phase that just said, okay, well, if you're already in our community, then we're going to find a way that you can buy some tokens. And that I think is semi-announced, and it's going to be more announced probably when all the IDOs have finished their whitelisting processes. That's going to happen anyways.
Okay, that's great to hear. Can you also tell me, for example, the chains? Are you planning on also coming to other chains like Binance Smart Chains, Polkadot, for example?
I like Polkadot, and I think there's a good reason to think about going on that chain. BSC, that would probably mean we're going to do something more meaningful with Binance at the time if we did that. I can announce nothing yet.
I saw the twinkling. I saw the twinkling eyes. You want to say it, but
we understand. Okay.
Yeah, look, I think they're interesting. Right now, we're just going to keep it on ETH. We know that the gas fees suck, and we've done everything we can to try and make that suck less. Using a layer 2 to do the token distribution, making sure that stuff works nicely and doesn't cost you a fortune. I think we're keeping a really careful eye on ETH 2.0 progress and when that's gonna become a bit more efficient as well. So it's under consideration, but there's a lot of things we need to think about first, I think.
A lot in the pipeline.
Staking. I mean, we need to talk about staking before we talk about other things.
But that's good information for the community also, so they know a little bit what's behind the scenes, right? So
look, if the community makes a lot of noise, we'll probably do it sooner rather than later. But right now, no one's really like, oh my, desperate to get this on BSC.
Yeah.
If they were, we'd probably do it.
Yeah. Hey, and James, NFTs. NFTs are hot right now, So. And recently, I went to the website and we saw already a little some little announcement about NFTs. But can you tell us something about the ideas, how to implement NFT services, and maybe, if you can say it, what kind of services and
what are your thoughts?
I think there's a lot of interesting things to say about NFTs. So firstly, a cheap advert. Yeah, we had an NFT giveaway. It was based around the Chinese New Year, rather Lunar New Year. People seem to love that. I think there's still a golden Pepe NFT that we haven't given away yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay. So still a chance.
Still advert. On a more serious topic, look, we think there is going to be an interesting market for NFT derivatives. Whenever you've got an asset that's booming too much and it's just really losing good price discovery, you don't want it to sort of crash really, really hard.
Yeah.
And by allowing some kind of short selling, you can kind of help soften that fall.
Yeah.
Right? Smart people look at that and start shorting it, and then the market will react a bit, and the fall will be more graceful.
Yeah.
And so that's something we want to play a role in, in softening any potential crash in NFTs should that come. I think also thematically, everyone's always wanted to find ways like how do I let anyone in the world invest in art? Right? Even if you've only got $5, how do you invest in art?
Yeah.
And fractionalization of NFTs is a thing, but you probably don't want to just buy like 1% or 0.001% of a Van Gogh. That's not really what you want. What you want is like a European art index or something that you can kind of invest in, right? That's usually like individual pieces are really, really hard to trade, and maybe there'll be a handful of really big ones, but that's not going to be that interesting. Right, it's still a small market, and it's never going to be super liquid. But the indices themselves can be quite an interesting investment product. So we're sat around right now trying to figure out like how do we make a nice NFT art perpetual, and then what else is interesting in the NFT space that we can kind of let people get investment exposure to.
So you really are still a little bit looking with which directions.
I think building a direct competitor to the existing NFT platforms doesn't make sense, because I think they're pretty good, to be honest with you. I think more likely we just want to integrate them and just make it a great experience for people rather than try to compete us. I don't really see a reason for that right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, great answer. And that was enough for you also?
Yes, that was my questions.
A marketing question. We touched a little bit on this already. About the execution of the marketing in different countries. You already said that you have different how do you say it, different small communities within the different countries.
Sub communities.
The sub communities. But for instance, right? We are here. We are the Dutch crypto investors. We're based in the Netherlands, right? Yes. Represent the brand. And for instance, when the crypto space is booming right now, it's on the news and everything, and the nowadays people are searching. The only search engine that's used here in the Netherlands is Google. They have 99.8% market share, right?
Well, you have good taste in search engines.
And what?
You have good taste in search engines.
So for instance, most of the people here in the Netherlands, they are they take the computer or the phone and they type in Google, Bitcoin trading or whatever. You have to be visible in the search engine or something like that. So you have the marketing perspective, but also I think a lot of the digital online marketing perspective. How you guys gonna do that? Do you have some plans with that, or you're gonna create local teams for that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few really good ways of interacting with people at the start of their crypto journey. Being number one in Google search results is helpful, certainly for things that are around you. So I think we're usually around number one if you're looking for like Bitcoin VIX, that kind of thing. But that's a very specific type of customer. For your general person that's new to crypto, we're looking at doing integrations with mobile apps. So, you're already on your phone. It's something that you're already kind of onboarded to, and like making that a really frictionless, nice experience to go trade on Globe on your phone, on an app you've already got, we think is a really great way of just kind of bypassing that initial annoying system where you're trying to find things. And
can I say, do you mean that you also have a mobile first view?
Maybe.
I mean, we value it. We definitely think there's a lot of value in mobile. I think the kinds of trading that a lot of the community do, they're not so much mobile first. It really does vary. There are people that really want to be desktop first. Right? If you're trading big amounts of money in an algorithmic fashion, you're probably not running that algorithm on the phone.
Me probably also, yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know about mobile first, but I think mobile is going to be, it's certainly a big part of how people start to interact with crypto, right, in the early days.
I use it every day, so.
Exactly. So we're integrating with some apps like that. You can probably guess from other partnerships that you may have seen in the events. We'll get a formal announcement when everything's signed. Probably, I think we'll see. Like a few months, I think is kind of the time horizon on that one.
Okay, we will keep that there.
Yeah.
Yes, we're almost at the community questions. Again, I think it's a very fun conversation because you give us a lot of information and a little bit teasing here and there. So that makes that we touch points everywhere a little bit. So this question is about how do you monitor the feedback for the development of Globe? And you said already the Telegram is one important factor of that. And are the other channels? How do you monitor that? And yeah.
I mean, so that kind of starts right sort of top down, looking at our metrics. Like, are people logging into the site? Are they enjoying it? On a test, like do people come in and make trades? Do we see like good rates of people telling their friends about the site? Do we see like solid inflows of new people coming, and are they coming from markets where we where we think they're going to come from, and where we kind of cater to them effectively? Like we look at all of these metrics pretty much every single day and coordinate our strategy a little bit around that. And then there's sort of people that we have really long-term relationships with. So we have sort of standing weekly calls with I guess you call them like thought leaders, people that trade all the time, run really, really big Twitter communities, and we use them a little bit to get deeper insight about what's going on and to kind of see, get their analysis in kind of a structured, periodic way. Okay. And that, I think that works nicely. They'll say like, oh, here are 4 things I really, really want in the trading app, and we'll dump them in there next week. And then we'll, it just gets a really nice kind of cycle where someone is sitting there and deliberately analyzing what we're doing. Yeah. And then we have things like sort of rage indicators. So like if the login attempt fails, that's gonna piss you off. It pisses me off.
Yeah, no, I can go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's shit, right?
When your trade is open and you want to log in to adjust something, hey, your login can be failed.
Right. Right. And that stuff happens everywhere all the time, just because of a little bit. Yeah. They're just really good fundamental reasons why things like that just randomly fail sometimes. And we track those rates. We really try to keep them very, very low. We sometimes reach out directly when we can see people having these problems and like try to get a bit more insight.
That's
on like a monthly to quarterly basis, we also run little experiments, sort of fixed experiments, where we just kind of walk through with people in a structured way, like trying to just see if we've removed whatever went wrong about that login attempt. Like sometimes it's the user did something we didn't expect, rather than like, rather than something weird happened in some JavaScript library. That kind
of browser or something like that. Or,
yeah. And then the community. So we have a team of community managers. I read a lot of the messages. I don't read all the messages. it's a very lively group.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I do my best, but like I wake up every morning and there's like 200, too many messages. But we do kind of a daily review of that stuff. We look at what's frustrating people. We will go and talk to people individually if we really like their ideas and want to implement them and want to learn a bit more about how to do it.
Oh, that's really great. That's really great. Yeah. So directly, yeah, that's good, man.
Can you tell me more about the audits? Have you done it already, or is it still?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a few different kinds of audits going on. So number one is just auditing the token, like does it do what it should do? So there's I think 3 companies on that now. we're cautious.
Oh.
We're cautious. Yeah. I think one's done and one's halfway through, and one just sent me an update or something, which I should go read. But to go open it. But look, I mean, we've seen no major issues on that so far. There was one little thing where it's like, oh, there's a method that you never call and would never want to, but there's like a weird overflow type mechanic you might have in it. So please fix that with
Small.
the usual kind of Solidity stuff.
Yeah.
We do fairly regular penetration tests and other security audits and best practices audits from the various different parts of our systems. We do money laundering and terrorism audits as well. Not checking that we're doing it, checking that it's not happening.
Exactly.
That's like 200 pages of paperwork, and it's about as much fun as you would imagine. But I don't want money laundering to happen. I don't want terrorism to happen as well. So we put the effort that we can in to try and shut that down. So yeah, there's like 4 different kinds of audit.
Okay, so I heard a lot of good things going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So everything is really structured. I can conclude right here.
Yes.
So you guys and how big is the team right now? Because I hear you guys are busy with so many things, but how big is the team globally?
Yeah, I think we're about 20 people. Yeah, about 20 people globally. There are more kind of joining all the time, so I don't know whether I should include them in the numbers.
Okay.
We're hiring a lot right now, as you would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Then we go to the questions of the community. So if you recognize your question, then you probably will get a DM or something to let you know that you have win some free tokens. So we don't prefer fiat, but we're gonna discuss what we're gonna do. Yes. So we got a couple of winners. One of the first questions, I'm gonna read it up here, is from Jack and James. What are your major goals to achieve in the next 3 up to 4 years? What are your plans to expand and gain more adoption? How it goes on, one sec. How does Globe evaluate crypto participants' understanding about the project?
I might have to ask you for the second part of the question again.
Exactly. So let me first start with the first one. That's to achieve within the 3 to 4 years, the midterm perspective.
Sure. So hi Jack, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Look, I think we want to bring a level of integrity to crypto markets that kind of surpasses traditional finance. Mm-hmm. We want to bring financial products that are just much more efficient for users. We look at a world where a lot of places to invest are mutual funds, say, where they're taking 1% of assets under management every year, and that's eating up half of your returns over the course of that investment, right? That's horrible. That's borderline scam. Yeah. But that's where traditional finance is at. So we think every day about how we're going to improve that for people. I mean, 4 years is a little bit of a short-term horizon. For a lot of people, we're really trying to. All right, well, I will leave it at 4 years. Yeah, look at our roadmap. We're really trying to unlock a lot more possibilities to go trade and go invest and go improve market efficiency.
Okay.
Yeah.
A great, a clear answer. And the second part, we cut it off at the second part. It's what are your plans to expand and gain more adoption?
So we're gonna do a lot of these. I mean, I expect a lot from the mobile integrations.
Yeah.
I expect a lot just coming from connecting with thought leaders in the space and understanding what they want and building things that they like and they tell their communities about. And I mean, to be honest, a lot of our growth is just our community saying that they like what we do and bringing more people in, right? That's kind of the gold standard for growing a project, right? People like what you do, they tell their friends. We will be branching out in terms of the product line, so hopefully bringing in things that solve new problems for people that weren't problems that we previously solved, and trying to provide better offerings that there are already in some of those lines. So I expect growth from that as well.
Okay.
Thanks. And thanks to Jack also, one of the
Lucky
winners.
winner.
Yeah. Then we have here another question from Robbie.
Robbie.
And Robbie is asking, what will be or what are the utilities of the GDT token? And you touched it already a little bit. Are there, for instance, free discounts, or would it be used for staking? Can you tell something more about the planning and the staking problem any soon?
Sure. So there's sort of three key parts of the token. Number one is going to be discounts on the platform.
Okay.
Number two is paying the fees on the platform, which is probably going to come soon. I don't know if we're going to quite have that.
Yeah.
Start of May, that's going to come. And thirdly, is just this sort of natural decentralization buy and burn mechanic, right? So handing back the token to its community. I think that's really the core of an exchange token. It's a good model. If you really try to do too much else, you start really running into regulatory considerations around it.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to keep adding more utility to it. I wouldn't rule it out that there's a Globe smart chain someday, but we probably need different branding.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to give other rewards to people that hold the token. So improving the kinds of market making schemes we offer. Figuring out how we do staking. We know, we are working on staking.
Yeah. Okay, so it makes sense. You say it makes sense. So it's not, but it's somewhere in the pipeline in the
exactly.
in future, right? Okay. Thanks, James, and thanks, Robbie. Then we go to Nick, and Nick, he is asking. I'm gonna read it up. It seems like we are moving to a world in which decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges coexist. According to you, in a few years from now, what are the two, that's very concrete, the two most important elements that will attract people to decentralized exchanges instead of centralized exchanges, and the other way around? Again, a multiple question.
I mean, three years is an eternity in crypto. I mean, I think that the drivers now with decentralized exchange, number one, there definitely are idealists out there who are attracted to it because they don't want someone else to be managing their stuff.
Yeah.
They want everything to be sort of free of centralized bodies, and they're there for those reasons. And I think those people are still going to be around in 3 years. I don't know if that'll be a top two reason why people still use DEXs then, but I think that'll be up there. The second is a little bit how the liquidity works. So centralized exchanges do a really, really great job of providing very, very deep and meaningful liquidity and great price discovery on really low time horizons for popular coins.
Yeah.
But for the long tail of crazy shit coins that your grandmother just minted,
Beep.
yeah, like trying to trade one for another on those is more problematic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it makes sense if people are willing to set up pools for those, then AMMs do a pretty good job of providing meaningful liquidity between those kinds of pairs. I think you're going to struggle to see them quickly be listed on centralized exchange. There's probably a little bit of a regulatory play. So for centralized exchanges, they do have to think about the regulatory issues of the tokens. And I wouldn't be surprised in a few years, actually, if there are sort of tokens which look a lot like securities, which are decentralized in that way, and it's sort of a regulatory bypass, actually. Yeah. I don't think I've seen that yet, but now that I think about it, it's actually quite a compelling thing to try out on the decentralized exchange.
And a new idea is born.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Try if anyone here wants to try that, go for it. I don't know. I think that's a tricky one. I mean, for centralized exchange, the appeal is just the liquidity is going to be better, the fees are going to be lower. Probably, I mean, definitely right now, 3 years, I think it's going to be really hard for DeFi to catch up. And if it does, it's probably going to be CDeFi. It won't really be DeFi. It'll be pretend DeFi. That's going to be anywhere close in terms of in terms of TPS, in terms of liquidity, that kind of stuff. That's the domain of CeFi. I mean, what really drives people to CeFi over DeFi now is also just the convenience and the ease of use. To sort of say, like, if someone has a problem in the programming code with a DeFi protocol, good luck. Like, you probably lost your funds. But with CeFi, I mean, you know, they'll probably sort something out for you. You'll be okay. Right. So that level of customer care, that ease of trust, that ease of use, I think is going to remain probably for 3 years. It'll be eroded a bit. Those I think are going to keep people in CeFi.
Okay. Yeah, that's really you know, I think you're right when you're talking about the mainstream, right? You know, I think people want security as one of the most important factors to move to a certain subject, and especially when cryptocurrency is a new subject in the space. So I think you're right about that. You know, the layer of security is very important for the majority of the people. And of course, like you said, you have a couple of people that are really like, you know, no, everything 100% decentralized, and yeah, I think there always will be that kind of people, but
I think that there are interesting flows right now, actually. So people do come into CeFi, as you say, because it's safer, it's more comfortable as an initial thing, and then they find out actually they agree ideologically with DeFi and they leave, right? So there's people that for whom Serum is like a gateway. Sorry, FEX is a gateway to Serum, which is an interesting situation. But then somehow there's actually a really meaningful converse right now, and there's people that sort of they largely got involved with DeFi during the great DeFi summer, and you know they saw the tokens boom and they sort of thought that they could get rich out of it, which seems to be a large, you know, people don't really use DeFi so much even now, right? That's the sort of sad reality. I hope in 3 years they do, but most of the people around it are there like for, you know, financial reasons.
What do you see the future will tell us, you know?
Yeah, who knows, right? But they got in more for just trying to get rich quick. It was definitely a rationale for a lot of people during the DeFi summer. And that meant that they discovered CeFi and they discovered all the rest of the stuff. And, you know, they kind of moved over that way. And, you know, they found that actually the trade experience was a lot better on a Binance versus on a Uniswap. Right, the fees were ridiculous on the Uniswap.
And I guess in addition, when people use the Globe, you're gonna lock him in because of the data analysis, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, thanks. And then we have we plan to do 3, but we have one question as additional because we like the question. And for me, just a little disclaimer, I'm not a programmer. You know, I can read a little bit PHP, and you know, but this is a little bit technical. So James, maybe you can explain the question for the community itself, for people who are a little bit less technical. It's from Isaac T. How does the underlying technology powering GlobeDX give an advantage over other alternatives such as Gloon and Serum? Gloon, as I pronounce it, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I think good. I mean, the alternatives, I think the Globe right now are more like sort of Binance or FTX, right? So
yeah,
if I compare it to those, I mean, a large part is actually the hardware rather than the software. So we have a setup that resembles more like a professional exchange, right? Like a NASDAQ or like a high-frequency trading firm uses. And that gives us advantages like moving data incredibly quickly between 2 different locations. You know, we can move data in like 300 nanoseconds, quarter-core on a low latency switch. And we can have networking technologies which allow much more throughput than you would get for kind of a pure cloud or even sort of a, in quotes, bare metal AWS style cloud exchange. And so a good part of it's the hardware. There are also architectural things about the exchange. Just, you know, we did sit down and think a little bit longer about how we built it and got to see a lot of the data in terms of what went wrong at places like Binance, right? Who you know launched 2017, and that gave us time to think about, you know, what should an architecture look like for this. I'm sorry, I say Binance launched 2017, but Binance Futures is much more recent, right? So I think maybe a year old, something like that. 6 months even. I forget. Time flies in crypto, especially with the pandemic. So yeah, having just a very different overall systems architecture to it, having vastly superior hardware that's more like the kind of hardware you see at NASDAQ, just leveraging the more recent low latency techniques. So we use special type of queues that were only invented in the last few years.
Okay.
Those sorry, technical stuff. But broadly, it just lets us process at a rate that's something like 10 times what you would get even from NASDAQ matching engines.
And is that an advantage that the other languages like Luna, Serum, they don't have secondary layers to justify the shortcomings or something?
I think secondary layers help to improve those shortcomings.
Yeah.
But those are really built with very different objectives. I think those are kind of built more part for idealists, part for people that are maybe looking to trade things which are difficult to do from a regulatory perspective. Yeah, they're a different kind of products. But really focusing on people that just that do want to deal with the ins and outs of a blockchain and understanding how that works. Where a lot of people still don't really want to deal with that.
Okay. Now thanks for your explanation. I think I hope Isa can do is satisfied with this answer.
I'm happy to chat over Telegram.
Okay. These were the community questions. Hien, do you have any additional questions?
No. Any updates about TGE launching? Info
I think was
share with the
we can share as the first, right?
I'm trying to remember where we're up to with the updates. So I think the IDOs are announced. You got Ignition, Dodo, Superfarm. I think the start of the Globe sale after the IDOs is announced.
Yeah.
May 3rd. And then you'll have a pretty good idea what's going to happen after that. We're going to do an announcement probably between now and when the IDO starts, so that everyone's super clear and is going to be ready for it. I mean, there's going to be something like a week to get ready, and to be honest with you, that seems to be about the amount of time people like. Like if you tell them, oh, you've got to wait a month or something, that's too long. Tell me later. Tell me when it's just about to happen. So we're probably going to time this as about a week until it happens. You'll have time to prepare, and yeah, hopefully it'll just be a smooth process.
Okay,
great. Now, James, we really want to thank you for your time, and we also want to thank the community of Polkadot and the DCI, the Dutch crypto investors community, also for the questions. And James, we got a lot of questions, but we had to filter them and categorize them, and a lot of questions were also a little bit the same. So that's why we had these 4 questions. I hope everybody knows enough about Globe. And if you still have any questions, I think, James, everybody can connect you guys also through the Telegram, right?
Yeah, there's something like 15,000 people in our Telegram now. Come join, send us some questions. I don't know if I'll be able to get to them tonight. I'm locked up in a lot of calls, but our process should catch them. I should probably have a look at them later tonight, tomorrow morning, something like that. Okay. I will try and get to them. But right now we're just sorting out all of the nightmare of paperwork for a public sale.
It has to be that also, so
it does.
Not all the things are nice to play with, like the paperwork.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes hard to kind of communicate to people, like, we'll know a date for this soon. We're waiting for someone else's lawyers to come back from holiday, right? That's often the real reason. It's like, hey, I'd love to tell you guys that this is going to be the date, but it's on someone else's legal team, or there's some other like weird complication with a Singaporean regulator, or whatever it is, right? There's often these like weird little things, and I think it's best just to wait until things are ready and then tell them. That's
okay.
Best way to avoid disappointment.
Yeah, we keep us posted, James. Yes, and if you have some news, then then we can share it also within the community. Exactly. Yes, I think we can wrap it up like right now. James, again, thank you very much for your time also.
And we will talk soon when you're launching next month.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Good to catch up.
Take care. Weekend.